Yeah. Oh.
All right, you're
Hello.
all ready to go whenever you are.
Okay, thanks, Jesse. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the ACES, the Arts, Culture, Education, Schools Committee meeting for Monday, December 9th. MCB4 has a hybrid policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and or an extraordinary circumstance. Excused members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. This meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel and a transcript is being recorded. So welcome, everyone. We usually start these meetings with an open session that gives anyone from the community an opportunity to say something if they would like to. Do we have anyone? No one?
George is here for the presentation on KickNKnowlege, I believe.
Oh, okay. And is the shed here yet?
Yes, Darren Bigart is representing the shed.
Okay, so and maybe we'll just start with the shed then.
Okay. Bring them over.
Okay. Hello. Hey, Darren, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Welcome. So nice to see you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we always love having the shed.
Yeah. I prepared some slides, so I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen.
Okay, great.
Okay. Let me know if you can see. I'm going to put it into slideshow mode. Does that show up as the first slide for you all?
Yes.
Okay, delicious. I'm going to dive in. Stop me anytime. I can see and hear you, so you can always tell me to stop. I'm so excited to be here. Everybody who I don't know, my name's Darren Bigart. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the director of civic programs at the Shed. I'm really glad to learn from and with you all and to share a bit about what we've got going on at the Shed. I'll give a bit of an overview. I have 14 slides, but I practice and I think I've distilled it to about 8 minutes. So just holler if you need me to pause for any reason. So the Shed has a civic programs department. We engage directly with local artists and community members. We invest in public life, accessible art, civic discourse, and intersectional New Yorkers. And I'm going to tell you a bit about how we do that. I like to think of our programs in these 4 kind of buckets. Those are artistic interventions, public programs, social organizing around urgent needs, and community and government partnerships. This next slide I think is kind of neat. It's just a matrix of sort of where some of those programs are situated, but I'll give a sort of select program overview. And I'll start with what's that farthest left column, which is artistic interventions. The first is kind of our flagship program, Open Call. That's our large-scale commissioning program for early career New York City-based multidisciplinary artists. It's a recurring program, so it happens every year. We're currently in our 4th edition. There are some key components I want to highlight. First is it's a decentralized selection process. About 1,000 people applied this last round. We engaged about 75 reviewers and panelists field-wide. We do a lot of intentional outreach to build relationships all over the city to ensure that we reach as many artists as possible and not only folks, who we already might be aware of. By keeping Open Call free to apply and free to attend, we remove all barriers for engagement for artists and audiences alike. We're actually just about to welcome our new cohort next week, and we'll announce them publicly in January. But here are some figures from our last cohort that wrapped at the end of the summer. We had 19 artists, 10 new visual artworks presented, and 8 new performance works. That was 15,000 free tickets and 24 performances in our Griffin Theater. I won't go through all of the feedback that we've been gathering, but I did want to draw your attention to the sort of right-hand column here. I want to highlight that we always platform disabled artists. We've grown our accessibility initiatives robustly, including ASL, audio description, access doulas, sensory kits, tactile tables, quiet spaces. So a huge initiative of ours is to keep working with other organizations to implement more codified field-wide standards to ensure that accessibility is foregrounded throughout the sector. The next artistic program I wanted to highlight is our social practice artist in residence. This program started in 2016, so 3 years before the shed actually opened, with the goal of amplifying the work of artists who practice at the intersection of art and community building. We provide these artists with resources like space and support, fostering creative experimentation and multiple points of entry for the public. Our current social practice artist in residence is the Fire Ensemble, led by artist Troy Anthony. It's an intergenerational choir dedicated to using song and ritual as tools for collective liberation. It centers BIPOC and queer folks. Over the course of 3 years, they've held over 60 free drop-in choir rehearsals, engaging an average of 100 people per week. And those are hybrid. There's one actually happening right now as I speak. The next bucket is this public programs bucket. I think many of you know that each summer what we call Nest, we roll back the shell of the shed to reveal a public plaza. It's 17,000 square feet that's open to the public. Over the last 3 years, the way that we've activated that plaza is a program called Summer Sway, and multiple weekly events, DJ sets and performances from dance collectives and other artists. I feel compelled to name here, though I don't have slides for it, that we have many other public programs that we offer lots of things that contextualize both visual and performance work that happens in the building. One example is for the exhibition that was the Yanomami struggle that happened 2 years ago. We worked with local Indigenous groups and the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues to deliver 10 free public programs around that exhibition. Same thing for our open call visual arts exhibition that happened last summer, 10 public programs ranging from, panel conversations to performances to yoga classes. So lots of free programs always animating the building. We also launched a program called The Art of Democracy with Do Something. I'm sure many of you know them. They're a national organization amplifying the power of youth activists, and they inspire civic participation beyond voting. Okay, I think that's a good segue to our third bucket, which is social organizing around urgent needs. For 2 years, we've been a part of Project Open Arms. Since the fall of 2022, we joined the Manhattan Borough Response Team. We organize regular resource fairs for our newest New Yorkers, migrant families in temporary housing right here in our district. I'm sure you all know over 210,000 folks have arrived since that time and often struggle to get connected to the resources that they need. So we've partnered with the Department of Education, Department of Health and Homeless Services, over 50 community organizations to produce these regular resource fairs where folks who attend are fed a hot meal and connected to myriad resources across healthcare, vision, dental, insurance navigation, education for students in temporary housing, as well as adult learners, legal and social services like immigration support, housing, food assistance, etc. Some facts and figures about this program. We actually just held our most recent resource fair this past Saturday. So these numbers are freshly updated. We've served over 7,600 people over the course of 8 fairs in the last 2 years. As I named, engaging over 50 organizations, 600 volunteers. We just gave away almost 1,000 holiday gifts, but you see some of the other items that we've sourced, like shoes and socks and winter accessories and toiletries. I don't have a slide for this either, but I think this is the right time to name that we work with the Board of Elections and host voting twice a year since 2020 when they first approached us because they didn't have enough space. So we're committed to that work as well. Okay, I'm in my fourth bucket, and that is community and government partnerships. I thought I would just highlight 3 initiatives here. The first is our ticket access program, which we call TAP. We work with several partners like CUNY and NYCHA and others to distribute thousands of free tickets a year to performances and exhibitions. We also work with the Department of Youth and Community Development to host summer interns as part of their really, really robust summer youth employment program. And then shout out to Wiskin. We're a member of the West Side Cultural Network. I'm sure you all know over 20 arts and culture organizations in our neighborhood that collaborate regularly to define this area as a thriving arts and culture district and sort of brainstorm shared solutions to shared problems. Our main annual project is West Side Fest, a weekend of free programming throughout the neighborhood. Last summer, that engaged 130,000 people, and we've already begun planning for summer of 2025. Those are all of my slides, so I'm going to stop sharing, but happy to take any follow-up questions if anybody has them.
Thank you, Darren. It's so much. And a lot going on all the time. I'm so glad that you're still doing the open arms. We hadn't heard anything, so that's wonderful that you're still doing that. And that's yearly. You want to continue that program.
Definitely. Yeah, we do it 2 to 3 times a year, and we're trying to actually scale to get more institutions involved so they can happen more regularly.
Okay, and how do you get donations for the program?
Lots of ways. We apply for grants and co-apply for grants with other organizations. We've approached many corporations in our neighborhood, like Related Tenants, and our development department has a lot of asks out. And then we hold budget line items as well to purchase things. So we bought winter accessories out of our line item for the program.
We have a few more questions, but I just want to go around the room and see if anyone else has any questions.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the presentation. And I was wondering also about the open access fairs, because I remember when we first heard about them and how great it is, how many organizations and the legal support and everything else that you provide. But I was a little unclear and still am, like, how do people in need find out about it? And basically, do they have to be invited? Or are there like, I don't know, posters put up or something at some of the various shelters? I'm just wondering how that works.
Yeah, great question. We do kind of a lot of different ways. I hand delivered 1,700 flyers to our partners who work within the shelter system to put them under every single door in shelters and HERCs that are very close to us. That we found to be one of the most effective sort of grassroots ways to get people aware of what's happening. There are also through a lot of local community organizations like Fundavenic, which is a Venezuelan community organization, Africana and Malika, Arab American Community Center. They have a lot of like WhatsApp groups and do a lot of outreach kind of that way. So connecting to those community orgs, I think, is a really crucial part of it. But mostly it's been through the Students in Temporary Housing team, folks who work in shelters and HERCs.
And then can people go more than once, or do you sort of like? Okay,
Yeah, we don't track their information. We only ask them to fill out cards to count who is there and the ages of children, because we match them with certain resources that we give away, and try to get a sense of what the data is like so we can best prepare. But it's a totally open invitation. And
do you, from the data that you've collected, do you have a sense, are you seeing fewer people now coming, more, the same? Yeah, it's a great question. I was sort of surprised because this past Saturday was our highest attendance to date. And I think though arrival has slowed, you know, it's over 210,000 people over the course of 2 years, and a lot of them still really need a lot. I think we're finding from our partners in shelters that there's a real sense of disillusionment and frustration and folks who still really need to get connected to resources. So even though I think the arrivals have really slowed, the need has really not. Wow, okay. Thank you. That's helpful. Thanks.
Hi, putting on my other cap, non-community hat, as a local Democrat district, I'd like to thank you for hosting the Board of Elections to vote, because it's a great thing. So thank you for that. Now back to my community board hat. What do you do for the average middle class residents of the Hudson Yards, Chelsea, 34th? What type of programs or discounts or promotions? I live on 34th and 10th. I never really receive anything that much from you all. I know you're there, 'cause I walk by, but
Yeah.
not really, you know, I don't feel that involved.
Yeah, that's a great question and a great sort of provocation. I think through Open Call and other exhibitions, we have an exhibition opening in February called Gates. Many free tickets to both exhibitions and performances throughout the year. 15,000 just through Open Call alone. I think probably there's a lot of work to do to get the word out about those things. And then I think also that social practice artist in residency is about participatory work so that you know, my background is in education, and there's a lot of research about students having artistic experiences, like after school artistic experiences. There's less research about adults having that experience, though I can tell you from 3 years of the Fire Ensemble, it's an incredibly enriching program. And the testimonials from folks, it's been really powerful. So continuing to offer sort of regular programs where people can participate with artists, as well as attend both visual and performance work for free.
Yeah, did you have any questions? Okay, oh,
I just remember that I had heard, so please correct me if I'm wrong, that like part of the like Hudson Yards development, the deal was that, you know, the shed space would be rented for free for some of the schools to do performances, because all of our schools, like, just space is a premium. And so, like, what kinds of, I guess, how would a New York City school, like, say, we want to do a big play or a graduation or something like that?
Yeah, great question. I'm actually really excited because we're working with the head of the Manhattan Borough DOE arts, I forget exactly her title, but the head of the arts program for all of Manhattan. They're going to do a student exhibition of work kind of between exhibitions at the Shed, actually leading right up into our Open Call visual arts exhibition. Right now, they have the space, it's free for them to use. And what we're working on right now is actually partnering those students with Open Call artists so that they can offer tours to working artists, and then working artists can offer tours to students and think about a more robust pipeline in that way. I sense that partnership will continue to grow. It's something I feel really excited about. Right now, that's the kind of visual arts focus, but I hope also that performance is included as well.
Yeah, and my question was on space rentals. So not just to exhibit space, but like large space rentals for free or for a, you know, a discounted rate.
Yeah, definitely. We have a nonprofit discounted rate and a city discounted rate, and those students are using a gallery space. They're presenting their work in our gallery.
Okay.
does that, do you get your answer?
Yeah, I think I need to just follow up and do a little bit more due diligence in the nonprofit. Is there like a contact, maybe, I guess, if you could provide that through Josephine? Because yeah, I'd love to hear, because I'm hearing that schools are needing more space. Yeah,
Gotcha, right, okay. Wendy?
Thanks for the presentation. You do so many different things. I am curious, what are your primary channels for reaching the community? Because you have so many different segments of the community that you're touching.
Yeah, it's a good point. We have a pretty robust mailing list, and certainly like social channels. I think it kind of depends on the stream. When we're engaging local artists for things like wanting people to apply for Open Call, we reach out to each borough arts council and many institutions who interact with early career artists or students. When it's Open Arms, you know, you sort of heard a bit about that pipeline. So it varies. I think actually what I'm learning and hearing is that some of the free programs that are offered are going maybe a little bit under amplified, and so that's something I would love to take back to our marketing and comms team to see how we can get that in front of folks, because there's a lot of opportunity for engagement and a lot of free work happening.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know how we can be helpful there as well.
Thank you. That's actually really great. Thank you.
1 second, Max. Jesse, did you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you. Darren, could you go into a little bit, I think sort of following up on what Wendy was just asking. You mentioned it, but I know one of the focuses was always about getting tickets out to the local community. And so you did mention NYCHA, and I just wanted to explore that a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be an answer right now if you need to go back and kind of, uh, collect your due diligence. But if understand exactly what does that mean in terms of we have three complexes in our district, Elliott Chelsea, the Fulton, and then the Harborview. And so we would want to understand sort of what does that directly mean when you're out reaching out to NYCHA, because NYCHA is such a large organization that I'm not sure it always trickles down. So we could be talking past each other sometimes, and I just don't want us to be. And we know the tenant association presidents for all three of those. So if that's a helpful contact for you, obviously, then we'll be happy to provide that. But if you could do that and give us a little more input, expand a little bit who you're working with at NYCHA, and then any other local organizations in terms of getting the word out about tickets and stuff like that. That'd be helpful.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jesse. For NYCHA, we work mostly with Chelsea Elliott, their tenant association. Darlene, we table at their like family day every summer to try to get the word out about our ticket access program and other. We give free memberships. Both NYCHA and CUNY, we have folks that we interact with regularly to make sure that we're making them aware of all of the free offers we have for tickets. But I do think probably regular meetings with all three presidents and open to any feedback there or opportunities to connect with folks and make sure they're aware.
Yeah, we're happy to follow up on that.
Thank
But
you.
that's great that you're working with Elliott Chelsea. It's a good start.
Yeah.
Next. Salvador?
Hi, Karen. Thanks for a fantastic presentation. Yeah, great to see you again. It's really impressive what you've been able to do as an arts and culture organization to really encourage and engage with our local communities. I think that's so important, especially for us newer arts and culture institutions that can feel very new to our local community. And it's important that we are making sure that the community knows that this is a space for them as well, not just for tourists or the elite, wealthy community members. So thank you so much for all of the work that you put into that. I did have two questions for you. One being, what in 2025 are you most excited about on the civic engagement or public engagement front that we could sort of help get the word out about?
Thanks for that. I continue to be very excited about Open Arms. We're already looking ahead to two big resource fairs there. I also think in terms of Open Call, a free group exhibition this summer, I really want to get the word out about that because it's a very exciting program that honestly I think attendance could be much better. I think more people could know about it. It's kind of that artists who are on the precipice. It's artists who I think will become very, very important contributors to the field. So that exhibition will be this coming summer alongside our Plaza program. Those are the two that come to mind initially and would love support in brainstorming how we get the word out.
And then I'm a huge fan of your free programming and your summer sway. I go probably too much. I love that you all offer not only just free programs, but also public access to some of your more high-end ticketing stuff. I was wondering if any of that is available for any of the current things going on. I know there's been a lot of excitement around Luna, but the ticket price can give a little bit of a sticker shock, especially for those who are bringing large families.
Yes, there are ticket access program tickets available for Luna. Again, going through channels with mostly NYCHA and CUNY right now. I have a dream that I think is coming to fruition in early 2025 to host what we're calling a tappening. A ticket access program is TAP, so a tappening, where we gather a lot of those partners together and make sure they know about this program and really blast it out. But yes, Luna has tickets available. An exhibition opening in February celebrating 20 years of Gates, Jean-Claude and Christo's Gates. That will all be free. So those are both, I think, really exciting happening now.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thanks, Salvador.
Shanice?
Yeah, hi Darren, Shanice here. I just had, what I think, again, what you're doing is amazing. Seems like you're reaching a lot of people, which is great. I just had a question on the ticket program. Ticket access program. I just wanted to know how that process works. Is it first come, first serve? Or are a certain amount of tickets set aside for like lower income families?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's a certain number of tickets that are defined by programming capacity. Some of the work we do is kind of our own producing and program, and then others are partnerships, like with Luna. So that was part of, I think, the deal negotiation with them to get, X number of tickets allocated. And then through our outreach, we just blast it out. And once we, at any given showtime, Luna is running kind of all day, 6 days a week. But any given threshold, once we reach capacity, then it's first come, first serve for that.
And just one follow-up question. Do you guys collect any data just to show like the demographics of who's utilizing the program?
Yes, we do. And I don't have it right now, but I'm happy to ask my colleagues for it and provide it.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah, great question. Jesse?
Yeah, actually, Salvador reminded me of something, and I know I think Darren, I brought this up when we first met. And because I know Tamara works so hard on trying to maximize the opening when the shed is nested and that space is opened. And so again, I'm not looking for a answer right now, but if we could understand, where you guys are at with, and even when the shed wasn't nested, I think Tamara had some creative ideas about trying to make it work with just, when you had to keep it closed, because I know it's such a process to open it. You had to keep it closed. It's easier to keep it closed, but have the doors open and still be able to use the space publicly. If we could get a follow-up on that, that would be wonderful, just because I know that was such a hard fought negotiation in terms of the use, the public space use. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. We're planning 8 weeks again this summer, like we've done the last several, but I really like that pavilion mode, I think is what you're referencing, where it's, the roof is still there, but all of the windows are up. It's the configuration we had for the first West Side Fest that we held 2 summers ago. I think it's really welcoming. It feels like you kind of walk right into it from the High Line. Right. So I feel really excited about possibilities there, because it's not the intense procedures with engineering and all of the costs associated with those things that it is to fully nest. So it feels like there's a lot possible there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a quick follow-up.
Yes, sure.
For the gates, thing, for the opening night, are you going to invite people from the community board or the community to come to that? How is that? And what date is that?
I'm glad you asked. I don't remember the date. I will look it up and get back to you. I think they're circling opening nights, but yes, absolutely. The whole exhibition is free, but if there is some sort of like opening moment, I would love to have community board representation there. So I'll follow up with our artistic team about that and get dates to you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So what I seem to be hearing over and over, just sort of this echo that, the shed is a very large institution. Of course, it's for all of New York City, not just us in Chelsea. But, I feel like there is, since it is such a large institution, that sometimes it can feel a little intimidating, that we not really, like, the community really isn't part of it. So I'm wondering, do you have any partnerships with schools, or what are some of the other things that the shed can do to make the neighborhood feel like more that we're sort of part of it?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's something I think about absolutely every day. I think it's probably multiple answers. One is, I think, more revealing what is happening and what is possible. For instance, our lobby is open and free, and there's free Wi-Fi. You don't have to order anything at the restaurant. The design of the building, as I understand it, was intentionally sort of large and open so that people would feel like they could come and work there and spend time there. That's one piece of it. I also think, yeah, our DOE partnerships have been quite robust through Open Arms. I think this student art exhibition is going to be a really exciting new partnership. I think there's a lot of possibility there. There's a lot to mine with getting schools involved. Yeah, I think a lot about how we also are partnering with other arts and culture institutions. One thing that I sort of hesitate to name because it's such a seed of an idea, but we're partnering with a couple of organizations on learning workshops, particularly for early career artists, but also others around things like access as artistry, because we've spent so much time and energy in accessibility initiatives. And I have a wondering about how those things could become publicly available, hybrid, alongside the social practice artist work, where it really feels like, the way I know the fire ensemble community feels, which is you belong here and you want to be there. And it's always an engaging, exciting experience for all ages, for all identities, and that's something I'm really, truly, I mean this, always happy to hear people's ideas on, because I think it's quite possible to sort of stack. We have the sort of resources and bandwidth we have at any given year, but I think there's a lot of things that can sort of live alongside programming that already exists.
Great to hear. We're a great resource for schools and for the local arts community. So, we're more than happy to make those connections for you whenever you're ready, or some of these other ideas sort of pan out. Jesse, is Inga on? Is she mute?
Jesse, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, she's not in the attendees section, so she might be watching via a live stream, but I don't believe she's not on right now.
Okay, Inga, if anyone doesn't know, she's one of our board members, and she's been a board member also on the shed. And so, very grateful for all the work that she's done, and I thought, she might have. Jessica, did you have anything that you wanted to say? You were, no, just dropping in. Okay, our chair of our board is here, so just wanted to know if you want to say anything. Okay, does anybody else have anything else? Okay, we are so grateful, Darren, for you coming tonight and for all the work that you're doing. It's a lot, certainly, but we look forward to seeing everything that comes in 2025.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. See you all soon.
Okay, great. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
So next on the agenda, we have George from KickNKnowlege. Do you want to bring him over, Jesse?
Yeah, he's coming over.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. How are you guys? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is
Yes.
George Duval from KickNKnowlege, New York native, and see a lot of familiar faces in the room. Want to thank Ella for inviting me. We met at Next Jump in Chelsea, and I remember Salvador from the Poster House. We did I went to a Nike event, but I run an organization called KickNKnowlege that teaches sneaker and fashion design, and started in Chelsea at PS 11. My son was attending and was able to start working with the students through a young artist program where parents got to teach different disciplines of art to students. And then from there was prompted to work in some other schools teaching our program, and eventually connected with Nike, which prompted me to start a nonprofit. So if I can share my screen, I'll show you guys some of what we've been able to accomplish. And yeah, thank you again for having me. So yes, we're a nonprofit that teaches sneaker and fashion design called KickNKnowlege. And we've been fortunate to have some amazing experiences throughout New York City, engaging with over 1,000 students. We're in several different schools. We're in 2 elementary schools in Manhattan currently. We also are at 2 middle schools in Queens, and then at 2 high schools, one in Brooklyn, George Westinghouse, and then next week we launch a program at Fashion High School on 24th Street, between 7th and 8th. Do you hear me?
Yes, sorry.
So this is our organization called KickNKnowlege. We are a nonprofit, and we've been fortunate to engage with some amazing brands, like mentioned earlier, Nike, Tapestry, Union LA, Comme des Garçons. We've hosted workshops at Dover Street Market in their New York and LA spaces. We've also had a brand from LA called Union, which originated in New York, come back to New York and host workshops for our students. This is a field trip with some of our students that got to go to a Nike store in Manhattan. This is some students that got to present at Nike headquarters in it's on 30th Street and like 6th Avenue. So they got to present their designs that they created. We did a design workshop out of a retail space in New York called Nike Lab. It closed, but we were fortunate to utilize their bespoke space to host students and teach classes in. We've also had 2 girls in different Nike campaigns. So we had 2 young girls from the Bronx that were featured in 2 different Nike campaigns, which was pretty, phenomenal experience for the young ladies. They got to experience a marketing campaign and partake in it. We've also were able to do a 15-minute video for Air Max Day during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, students or people weren't able to come together for Air Max Day, which is like a Nike holiday that they host. So they commissioned us to do a workshop out of their a workshop that they ended up streaming globally. They also donated $30,000 to our organization for this workshop that we did. And when we first started in 2020, they gave us another donation for organizations that work with members of the African American community. The other experience mentioned was Union LA. It's a brand out of LA where they get to design different sneakers for Jordan brand and Nike brand. They did a workshop around the sneaker that they designed for Nike, a Nike Dunk, and walked the students through the process of that design and what it goes into storytelling and how that product was developed. They also got to take the students down to a pop-up shop in Lower Manhattan that was a throwback to the Union store in New York. So they recreated the store on Mercer Street, walked the students through the marketing of that store after the design, and kind of showing them how products come to life and how they're marketed to the consumer. The students were also gifted a pair of the shoes. So we were able to give out 100 shoes to the students through this experience. We've also, like I said earlier, we're able to do some amazing workshops with Comme des Garçons and DSM, Dover Street Market. We've had different people from brands like Supreme, Awake Clothing, Denim Tears, as well as some other brands come and talk to our students about design and different pathways within the industry, how they've been able to navigate non-traditional pathways and career paths for young people. We've also worked with SCAD, which is a college in Savannah, Savannah College of Art and Design, a phenomenal school that we've gotten to visit and do some different workshops with. We did a workshop with them last summer at Tapestry, which is on 30th and 10th Avenue. It's the home or management company behind Coach, Kate Spade, and Stuart Wiseman. So we had students making leather goods. They got to make little keychains and little items using leather, and then they got to see the archives for Coach clothing and product behind Coach, as well as meet with different people from Tapestry to talk to them about career paths and opportunities within the industry. We brought over 80 students throughout New York City for this workshop, and we were able to get 14 students from the Fashion High School on 24th Street to attend as well. This is us in Savannah. We did a workshop called Sneaker Week in October, where we brought different creatives from Nike and Jordan brand and Awake down to Savannah to do a series of workshops and then a speaking panel discussion for the students that attend SCAD. We also, through the brand UNLA, were able to take 6 kids from New York to Japan. So in 2023, we went for 9 days to Japan, and students got to explore and meet different creatives in Japan. We got to meet some pretty big names within streetwear, and it was a life-changing experience. One of the students in this picture was her first time ever on an airplane, and it was a 14-hour trip. It was amazing. She brought me to tears, and to be able to kind of provide that experience for her was amazing. 2 students from this trip also are now currently attending FIT. So they, through our program, were ignited to apply for college and were accepted to FIT. And then we have 2 more young students that are considering art majors as well. This was the Japan trip. This is some other workshops that we've hosted in the past in Jamaica. So we've been able to, through the pandemic, we're doing virtual classes for students globally. We work with students in London, we work with students in India, Japan, LA, hosting different workshops. And as the pandemic lifted, we were able to, go to some of these places and engage with the students in person and host these workshops. The other thing I want to show you guys real quick, if it'll play, I'm not sure if you're seeing it, is a video of our trip to Japan. Let me see if I need to stop and reshare, or do you see the video?
Oh, we don't see the video, no.
Let me stop and reshare that screen. So you should see it now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Excited to continue this program with UNLA. This trip to Japan has been extremely special, definitely a dream to come true. We're changing the future. We are impacting things in a positive way. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited to see our young creatives create and design and get inspired.
Coming here and seeing people dressed up, it's so nice to see people express themselves. That inspired me. When I heard that, we had the opportunity to go to Japan, I didn't believe it. I'm grateful for the people that care, because it's not like they only care for their own. It's like they care for me as well.
The goal was to bring these students here and hopefully inspire them, expand their minds of what they can do, what they can be, see a very elevated, very considered version of our industry, the industry that they're studying, to maybe one day be in, for them to glean a little, not just inspiration, but information. You don't necessarily have to be trained in this field. If you have the passion, if you have the work ethic.
The Kyosho experience was an experience I will never forget. The architecture and the design was so unique.
Like the t-shirt making.
I really appreciated all of their curiosity, and that's where you draw your inspiration for your design, is in humanity and in culture.
The whole trip was amazing. Seeing kids from New York be here is so cool.
My goal was to at least plant a seed of inspiration, thinking beyond our block, our city.
It's been a journey that has quite literally changed my life. So yeah, we've been, sorry about that. We've been fortunate to, like I said, host some amazing events. We've done some workshops at Fashion High School where Converse sponsored shoes, and we had students designing sneakers. And we pride ourselves in working with students from underserved and underrepresented communities, much like myself and where I grew up. I grew up in Hell's Kitchen, 49th Street, so under Community Board 4, and then was fortunate to raise my family in Chelsea on 22nd Street. What else can I tell you about us? I mean, we are, looking to engage with more schools, provide programming to more students, and provide more opportunity and access to young people. So, and we work from ages 1st to 12th grade as a FYI.
George, it's very
Yeah.
impressive. Just a couple questions. So how do you connect with schools and students?
So initially, a woman that worked at a school in Brooklyn heard about our program and offered or access to come out there and start doing programming for 2 schools. But now it's really word of mouth and reaching out to other principals and engaging with them and telling them about our program. Currently, we do enrichment programming for elementary schools throughout the day. So we come in for 1 day a week. We work with different grades. We'll have the 4th graders, 4 classes back to back, or the 5th graders, 3 classes back to back at different schools. And we work them through different exercises of design. We teach sneaker and fashion design, but we like to think that we teach design thinking and opening our students up to different avenues and opportunities of design and making the world better. One of the main points is empathy and teaching them to kind of put their
Sounds amazing. Is there a charge to the schools for your program?
We do charge the schools. I mean, we're hoping to grow to the point where we can get enough funding where we can kind of offer our programming to certain schools. Like I met with a great school this morning, Robert F. Kennedy, where it's over the majority of the students there have disabilities, but the school's funding has been cut. So we're kind of looking to see if we can offer free programming to those schools. At Fashion High School, we are doing free programming through the Work, Learn, Grow program, which is the version of summer youth employment, but throughout the school year. So we'll have 12 students working for 10 weeks, working with us to learn about our program, and then we're hoping to launch our design camp this summer at Fashion High School, utilizing those same students that go through our program. But there is a fee that schools generally get through their budget, or some schools have been able to utilize their PTA to raise some funds for our program. And we do 10 to 12 week programming in school. We also offer after school programming and summer programming. And then there is another version of the program where we come in and we've been under the art department working 5 days a week, teaching an art class for different schools.
Great. Any other questions? Yes.
I just wanted to say, I think it's great what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. And did any of these kids, when they make their products, do they ever make money selling it, or does Nike ever distribute them? I mean, how does but I think this is wonderful, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. I think we may have met at the longest table as well a couple of weeks ago if you were there.
Oh, yeah, yes.
We sat next to each other at the longest table. Great seeing you again.
Yes.
So we do work with students, or currently in the phase of having students design product that can be released to the market. We're working with Dover Street Market, and they've green lighted a project for us to have clothing that's designed by our students released at their retail space. And we're hoping to have a portion of that money go to the students, but as well to the organization, so we can offer more free programming.
I just think it's so inspiring that you had this idea as a parent, do something at your kid's school, and now it's come out into the city. I just think it's awesome, really inspiring. And I guess I was just wondering, I guess this follows up a little bit on Josephine's question, but like, how do schools hear about you? Or like if a school was interested, are you doing outreach or to specific schools, or are you waiting for people to like email you? I'm just wondering sort of how it works.
It's a bit of both. I wear different hats, but we've been fortunate to be featured on the news where we've gotten some press, and some schools have heard of us through that. We were on Channel 7 with Kimberly Richardson. We also were, after that, were able to be on Channel 5 and then Univision, which is a Spanish channel. So they featured our program, and different schools have reached out, but also through word of mouth. So one of the elementary schools that we're in now on the Lower East Side, There was a sneaker event in the neighborhood. A person that knew about our program bumped into a principal there, referred our program. That principal then referred us to other schools. So it's really through, people learning about our program. We're only 5 years old since 2019. And the word has really spread through the community. But we're looking to engage with the city more. So I've been having lots of meetings with the Department of Youth and Development, a bunch of different organizations throughout the city trying to get the word out more about our program, looking to connect more with the DOE. We've also been offered a space at the 42nd Street train station, which we are kind of thinking how we would utilize it because they have a lot of empty spaces that they're looking to kind of fulfill. So we're looking to try to do something like a sneaker art museum featuring our students' artwork, and really transform that space so it's more inviting. And I grew up, like I said, in Hell's Kitchen, so I'm very familiar with the Port Authority and 42nd Street. And I know that we could kind of benefit from something that's a little bit more pleasing to the eyes as New Yorkers.
Do you get any city funding so far?
We haven't, and that's something that we're looking into do now. A lot of our funding has come through different schools. We did receive some money from Nike, like I said in the past. And then we're looking to get some more support from some of the brand partnerships that we've been able to develop. Having a conversation with Supreme in a couple of weeks about doing some programming and getting some funding from them. We've been doing some skateboard classes with Supreme. We've had some employees come and teach our students how to skateboard throughout the summer. So we're looking to do some more work with them. But yes, these are all things I've been trying to navigate, and how to figure out how to get more funding for our program. We also had some students in the Jimmy Jazz Nike campaign. That's my son with some other students that were featured. We had 7 students, 4 from Harlem and the Bronx, and 3 from Brooklyn featured in the campaign.
Oh, all right, thanks.
Yes, Matt.
First, I apologize for being late. Thank you, Josephine, for holding down the fort. Hi, George. Matt Green here, co-chair of ACES. So really, this is fantastic to hear about. I would also recommend, if you haven't already, I think it sounds like you've been having a lot of conversations with the city, but definitely connect with the local council member, Eric Botcher, and see if there are ways to get discretionary funding through his office. They do have a pool of expense funding for nonprofit organizations. I'm also assuming, and I'm sorry I didn't catch the beginning, that you are incorporated as a 501c3. You would need to be incorporated as such to be eligible for that funding. But just some other ideas. It was great to hear. I think you're referring to the former Project Find space under the Port Authority bus terminal. Because as you were speaking, I was thinking about vacant storefronts and how to utilize that space. Yeah. And I believe, I'm going to butcher the names, Chashima is the organization that's been doing art galleries in a lot of vacant storefronts. And so if you need to make a connection with them, we would be happy to facilitate that. But I think that's a perfect example of something that this board has asked for many, many years. It's like, what can we do with that space, especially as the Port Authority bus terminal is being redeveloped? I think there's opportunities to really think about, using that space in the interim. But it's a challenge, but there's plenty of other spaces where I think that could work. And we would be happy to help you identify that. So just 2 other things. If you haven't spoken to the Hudson Yards Hell's Kitchen bid, they may have a list of those properties that are vacated, so you could connect with them. And they might have sort of an inventory of spaces to showcase your work. And also the last thing I wanted to mention for funding, the Westside Community Fund. You should look into this, just Google it. It's for nonprofit organizations based on the west side of Manhattan, and you should just get plugged into the work that they're doing. They give out micro grants to groups. And so I think just the work that you're doing with fashion, the High School of Fashion Industries, you're born and raised in Hell's Kitchen, live in Chelsea, like this is great stuff that you're doing in the community. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And we're happy to put some resources together for you as well. So thank you, George, for coming. I know it's great to have you on the agenda tonight. So thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. And thank you for those referrals. We definitely are interested in connecting with other people and other organizations. I've been kind of doing it myself, just kind of cold calling different people. I saw a program that was an art program for the city, for the MTA, and then found a contact. And then they connected me with somebody that's now working on hopefully locking in some spaces for us to use in the MTA. But we're open to all spaces and working with, different people. I've also connected with some council people, and I'm in the process of getting our paperwork so that we can get some of those grants and some funding.
Okay, great. That's good to hear. I'm sure.
Good. Any other questions?
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I honestly was prompted by other parents to do two classes at my son's school under the Young Artist Program. And the first class that I had, they paired me with another parent that ended up working at Nike. And it's kind of just been a roller coaster ever since, but it's given me purpose. It's allowed me to align my passion for design. I ended up learning about sneaker design pretty late in life. My wife suggested I took a class at FIT for athletic footwear design. And when I did, I was like, if I would have known about this in my youth, this would have been something that I would have definitely participated in. And now I have the opportunity to talk to students that look like me, that grow up in a city that's pretty similar to what I grew up in the 90s to and 80s, and really engage with them on, different pathways, how to be creative, how to give back, and how to better their lives, which is something that we're super passionate about.
Such a great story. Come join the community board. No, we thank you so much for coming. It's a great way to end the year, honestly, on this note. This is really, truly wonderful. And I wish you all the best, and please stay in touch.
Definitely, I will. And thank you to Ella again, and Jesse and Josephine for connecting us. And really appreciate you guys, and excited to see how we can continue to grow together and offer some more opportunities for for the community board and as well as other communities.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Definitely. Thank you guys. Appreciate the time. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Okay, so the last item on our agenda, we were going to have a discussion on the teacher shortage. The person who's going to join couldn't make it. But actually in January or February, we may have our council person, Gail Brewer, join us. She has some great ideas on the teacher shortage. She wasn't able to come this evening either. So we have her, hopefully we'll have her for January, and also PYCD, we had talked about having someone come and give us an update on the tutoring in the shelters. So does anybody have anything else that they would like to see for January? Arts perhaps, or?
Well, one thing we had talked about that it came up in our discussion with Iris, and then we said maybe we would see if we could talk about it on HHHS. But I don't know if it's also something we can talk about more here. I'm not sure, but she had talked about it seems like maybe it might be helpful to find out more about the program for unaccompanied minors. And it seems like there are a whole bunch of challenges there, including one of the things she mentioned was that at least a lot of the males, so they're between the ages of 18 and 26, are being put in men's shelters, and well, that's probably not the right place for them. But I think it sounds like there just aren't many supports for them, and I think it would be really interesting to find out, how many are there? What is the system? How are they being supported through the DOE, but how many are in our community, just more about it.
Yes.
So I don't know if that's possible, but I think that'd be really interesting.
Right. I'm just trying to think who we could reach out to. Is your committee gonna do something on it? Okay.
Yeah, so we have a list of certain things that are coming up in the next couple of months. We just need to organize what issue is coming up what month. So that's one of the things.
We had a letter, right?
Yes.
It went out, and it included something about that issue, didn't it?
A
Little?
little, but not much, but
Okay.
you know, because we wanted to hear what, the housing committee was going to do, but the other thing that, Iris had pointed out is that a lot of these, supposedly 18 to 26-year-olds are actually under the age of 18.
Yeah,
Right, the
And-
ID issue.
Right, and should be in school, but even if they're over the age of 18, then education is still something that's, needed. Jesse, who could we connect with on this? I mean, how could we start this conversation with someone? Where do we go?
So I'm sorry, so I remember it as the topic of the individuals having paperwork identity that identifies them as being adults, right? Being over 18, but being clearly not over 18, and that the paperwork is not accurate. But because of that, then they are put into single adult male shelters, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about-
that's one of the issues, but I think she was also, and I'll be honest with you, I can't remember when she raised it, but one thing that she mentioned too, was that the sort of what's being offered educationally for them is like, oh, well, sort of support to get their GED or something. But the fact of the matter is, they don't even have the language skills right now, so this idea that they're somehow gonna be helped to get GEDs. So I guess it would be helpful, I think, to find out more about what is being offered or not offered to them as educational support. And again, just
So,
sort of,
I
I
mean,
don't
I
have a
can-
sense of how many there are or anything.
So I mean, I think if you're talking about the shelters, the HERCs we could certainly reach out to the HERCs or, hospital, health and hospitals who runs the HERCs. We have one in our district. I will say I almost for certain, if you're talking about the Department of Social Services homeless shelters that may also be dealing with that population, I don't think there's going to be much. But we certainly can reach out. So I think if we want to if someone wants to send me a set of questions, I can certainly put together, request maybe health and hospitals coming to talk about what they offer for that population, and then and running it by Department of Homeless Services.
So just as a reminder, there was an email between myself, Joe, Jesse, Jessica, and this was one of the items I mentioned about the HERC coming to present voting space to their sites for undocumented teens. Who are staying in adult shelters, but I only was focusing on that part. And Jesse had said he thinks it would be good to have HHC come to update us on the HERC and DHS. And we don't know what month that would be, but that is on our list to discuss.
That's great. I think it makes sense to facilitate that conversation with your committee, as long as we could, I think, putting together some questions that this committee has, and if we could send those to you, just to make sure like that educational component is worked into that conversation, that would be great, so it's sort
I think
of
that's
comprehensive. Yeah, I think that sounds good.
That's great.
Did you want to start a list and
Sure, yeah.
circle it around?
Yeah.
Different- Okay, I'll add to it.
There's also a group meeting in Metro Baptist. It's not through the nonprofit there, but just they're using the space 2 days a week to offer supportive services, including some education. It's all largely word of mouth and it's not funded, like they're not getting funded from the city. But it is happening also in our district for people in shelter in our district. And so we, depending on your questions, like we might think about bringing them in also, kind of similar to the other group that you have, George, like figuring out also how to support them and being more connected to
Yeah.
the infrastructure of nonprofit. Like they're doing such good work, but they're kind of just doing it, which is remarkable and also could benefit from more support structure and support.
That's
We
good.
could make them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I could definitely reach out to Tiffany and see if, try to get some more information.
I have a bunch of contact information. I did a site visit for my own interests to them a couple weeks ago, not connected to the board.
I'd be happy to connect you guys.
Please, yeah, definitely. Okay. We could maybe try something in January.
And then I guess just one other completely unrelated thought I had about, and it was actually something you said, Ella, that reminded me, like, I think it's a huge issue for schools about space, especially for, you know,
Like plays and
and graduations.
Yeah, once you have the parents and families come,
Yeah.
it's like,
I think it's just a huge issue, and I know each school, you know, feels sort of overwhelmed to try and figure it out for themselves, but that's something that it would be great if we can sort of help from a community perspective, right? Like, we know we have schools in our community and they don't have the space, or a lot of them don't have the space for the graduations and things, and is there a way to identify space that could be used? And I don't think it was, so that's certainly something we can follow up with the shed about, but presumably there are other spaces too, you know, or theaters, or I have no idea, but.
yeah, like even on Joyce, maybe that's too small, but yeah.
Little Island, kind of like desks, I happened to look into Little Island and I definitely saw like a kindergarten graduation or something like that.
All the work stuff.
How awesome.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's sort of weather dependent too, like
Yes,
it's a
for sure.
problem that, yeah.
For sure, but yeah, I think the idea of what are the larger spaces in our district that could be made available to nonprofit or school groups would be super helpful.
Yeah, that could be a great resource for us to try and identify and get it together.
Is there anything else?
There's just two things. I realize Mike Freeman had his hand up a long time ago. I think it's probably related to the shed, but I feel bad just because he did have his hand up. And then I just want to let Inga is actually now on too, so I wasn't sure if we wanted to. I was just going to let Mike over, and that's all
Okay,
right.
sure, absolutely, yeah.
All right.
Hi, Mike, sorry about that. I did not see, your hand up, or didn't see you at all, so sorry about that. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me, first of all?
Yes,
Okay, I was trying to get my video going, but I can't get that happening for some reason. Anyway, yeah, I was actually hoping to speak with Darren directly. I wanted to give him some history of CB4, the community, and Hudson Yards. And I don't know if it will do any good to say this now because he's not here to discuss it directly, but when the Hudson Yards project was being proposed, this was following the defeat of the West Side Stadium. There were meetings at CB4 where residents attended, and my wife and myself and others from the community were there when we were told that performing artists from the community would be programmed at the Hudson Yards project, sort of in exchange for community support of the project. Now, that hasn't happened as far as I can tell. I haven't seen any names there that I've recognized, and I wanted to discuss that with him. I pointed it out to Tamara back in 2019 when the shed first came, and we had discussions going, and it looked like we might be making some progress, but nothing ever happened. She left, put me in touch with Darren. I wanted to speak with Darren directly because I've sent him a few emails and I've not heard back. So that's basically what I wanted to say. I wanted to see what he had to say, see if we could open up a dialogue and try to make this happen, because it was something that was promised to the community, to community residents who are performing artists of the neighborhood.
Mike, I'm happy to make that connection for you guys, and hopefully build, off of today's call. I don't think today is the end of the relationship or the end of the communication at all. So I'm happy to make sure that, you know, you and Darren and through CB4 have a continued conversation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jesse.
And I think that just goes back to the point we were discussing earlier that Ella first brought up, just having more community space at the shed. So I believe Inga's on, and you know, she may have something to say about this as well, because I know that she's been working on this for quite some time. So hello, nice to see you.
Yeah, hi, how are you guys? Sorry I joined late. I caught just the end and the other, but I have spoken with Darren. I did meet with him. The agreement, unfortunately, that CB4 and the city entered into doesn't stipulate that local artists will be. It's an open, what they created was what was called open call. And that's for artists all over the city. And there's not much we can do about it. It's the way, just like with the shed being nested, I've tried numerous times, and what comes back is that's not in the agreement. So the shed, you know, because that's public space, and when they have the shed fully extended, that plaza is not public space. So that's another thing that we've tried years to push for. But what they have instead of local artists are New York City artists, which is their open call program. So it's 10 years, or I don't know how many years we've tried.
Thank you for all that work that you've done on that front. Did Mike have a follow-up question, or I don't want to get into too much back and forth about this, but did you have a follow-up question, Mike?
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it was definitely told to residents of the community that that would be a stipulation. Now, why it didn't happen, I mean, were we just told that to get our support and then be ignored afterwards? Or what, you know, I mean, what we were told and what has happened are two totally different things.
Yeah. I mean,
and by the way, I have applied to open call, every single open call since the shed arrives.
I know others that have too. You know, I
Jesse,
can.
maybe we can just start this dialogue, because you're gonna be reaching out to Daryl already, and whether or not it's a stipulation, it should be encouraged that they showcase local talent and artists from Community Board 4. So whatever, you know, we can do to help that, you know, we should do. So I think we should, and Mike, thank you for bringing that up, because we don't have too many voices from the community, and you are engaged on this, and so appreciate you bringing that to light, so we can make sure that when we do have these conversations with the shed, that you know, they're putting in their best effort to make sure that our local musicians and artists have that a fair opportunity. So Jesse, let's, you know, we can connect offline, because I think we should just have that follow up with them.
Thanks.
Yeah. And also I can bring this up if you guys want at one of the board meetings. We have one coming up on Thursday. So if you want to have a chat also offline, I can see what we can, how we can formulate it.
Thank you. That'll be great.
Thank you so much. I think that concludes our meeting this evening. Anything else?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, happy holidays, happy New Year. Get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Shall we vote with our feet?
Exactly. Thank you so much, everyone. Great to see you.